Alright guys, happy Friday if you're a B day, happy Monday if you're an A day. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slow things down a little bit. We're going to review just to make sure we understand this stuff. So I'm going to do 10 problems and then I'm going to have you guys do 10 problems that are very similar. And the video is just for you to have as a resource so you can look at the problems and ask questions if you need to. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the vertex of this equation. Yes, it's graphed and you can see it. However, you need to know how to do it mathematically. So I'm going to say x equals negative b over 2a. Do not forget your a is the number that's in front. So in this case, it's 1. My b is the number that's in the middle with the x. So in this case, it's negative 2. So I'm going to plug that in. I'm going to get negative 2 over 2 times 1, which is a positive 2 divided by 2, which is a positive 1. Now I'm going to take that 1, I'm going to plug it in for the x's over here. So I'm going to have 1 squared minus 2 times 1 plus 4. So 1 minus 2 plus 4, you get negative 1 plus 4, which is a positive 3. So my vertex is 1, 3. My axis symmetry is based off the x value. In reality, you've already found the equation. When you did negative b over 2a, your axis symmetry is x equals 1. So that's the two things that I'm looking for. I do want to talk about something real fast though. Your axis symmetry is this vertical line that I'm drawing on the graph. It's an imaginary line that we use to help graph. If you look at this problem, the y-intercept is the last number, guys. So the y-intercept is 4. So I'm going to go to 0, 4, plot it. That's my y-intercept right there. Now I can use that to graph another point. So I'm just telling you this so it'll help you graph. If you are in standard form, you're going to use negative b over 2a to find the vertex. And then you're also going to use that to find the axis symmetry. But then from there, you can use it to find some other points as well. So if you're in standard form, the last number is your y-intercept. All right, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to find the vertex, axis symmetry, whether it widens or narrows, and whether the graph opens or up or downward. So in this case, the vertex is still x equals negative b over 2a. I'm going to get x equals negative 2 over 2 times 1, which is a positive 1 again. I'm going to plug it in, solve it, you get negative 4. So my vertex is at 1, negative 4. My axis symmetry, in reality, you've already found it. It's just the x equals, and it has to have x equals in it. Now, widens or narrows, there should be a neither option here because if your a is 1, which ours is, it's going to be neither. So it does not widen or narrow. And lastly, does it open up or down? That's based off of your a is positive or negative. In this case, it's positive, so we're going to say it opens up. So there's your 4 answers for that problem. Now, on this one, I want you to graph the problem from above. So I'm going to graph my vertex, 1, negative 4, and then I'm going to draw my axis of symmetry. The next thing you're going to do is I'm going to write the problem down here. There's a couple different ways to graph this. So you can make a t-chart, you can factor. Don't forget about your y-intercept. Guys, just pick a way and choose it. All right. The easiest way right now is your y-intercept is your last number. So I'm going to underline it in green. My y-intercept is 0, negative 3. So I'm going to graph 0, negative 3. Now look, that is 1 unit away from my axis of symmetry on the right-hand side of it. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to have the same exact value. So I go ahead and plot that. All right. The other thing you can do is you can factor it. So I can make my t-chart. I get negative 1, negative 4. Sorry guys, I graphed this wrong. Put negative 1, negative 4. Should be 1, negative 4. There we go. 0, negative 3. Axis of symmetry. And then still the same thing applies. So you can make your XY chart. You can factor. You can find your y-intercept, which I will underline in green again. All right, so that's the green point. That's 1 to the left of the axis of symmetry, so I can do 1 to the right. Now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to factor it if you want to. You don't have to. You can just use the t-chart. So I'm going to have 1, negative 4, 0, -3, and then 2, -3 is going to be the same thing. Now, what I can do is I can take this 3 and I can plug it into my equation and solve. So 3 squared minus 2 times 3 minus 3, I'm going to get 9 minus 6 minus 3, which is 0. So 3, 0 is a coordinate I can use. However, that is 2 units to the right of the axis of symmetry, so I can go 2 units to the left and graph another point. And that would be your parabola. Guys, if you do not understand the parabola, I've seen a lot of wrong graphs, a lot of people not even trying to graph it. You need to let me know so I can help you understand it. Okay, so that would be number 3. Number 4, I'm going to pause this and I'm going to let you guys do it, and then I'm going to write the answers on here. Okay, so I gave you guys some time to answer those 2 questions, the axis of symmetry and the vertex. The next thing I want to talk about is whether it widens or narrows. So if our A is 1, it's going to be neither. If our A is negative, it's going to go down. So that's the last 2 answers on number 4. Just wanted to talk about those while you guys were in here. Okay, number 5, find the vertex, axis of symmetry, widens, narrows, and then graph it and tell me whether it goes up or down. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the vertex. X equals negative b over 2a. So x equals -4 over 2 times 2, which would be a positive 1. I'm going to take that, I'm going to plug it in. 2 times 1 squared minus 4 times 1 minus 6. Should get -8. So my vertex is 1, -8. So I'm going to graph that. Just down here. We don't have room. So the next thing is your axis of symmetry. You've already found it. Now this one, my A is 2, so that means it's going to narrow. And it's going to go up because my A is positive. So now you've got to graph it. Guys, you can make the XY chart. However, you can also use your axis of symmetry to help you. What is your y-intercept going to be? It's your last number if it's in standard form. So my y-intercept is -6. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can plot that point. Now I can go on the other side of the graph, the other side of the axis of symmetry, and plot it again with the same y value. And the last step would be you could factor or you can plug in a number. So the only numbers that we haven't plugged in yet are 3 and -1. So let's plug in 3. You end up getting 0. If I plug in -1, I'm going to get 0 because they are both 2 units from the axis of symmetry. Now I graph it. Doesn't that look a little more narrow than usual? So that means that you've graphed it right and it's going up. Next problem. I want you to write the function in vertex form. So don't forget, vertex form looks like this. Okay, if I go right 1, that means my h is a positive 1. So I'm going to say x minus 1 squared. Now, if I go down, that means my k is going to change. It's going to be -3. So I'm going to say -3. We're just looking at where we move the vertex. So we move the vertex at 1, -3. Remember, if it's at a positive 1, this is going to be opposite sign. So it's going to be a -1. Some of you even missed that on the homework so far, so just keep that in mind. So same thing, I want you to write it in vertex form. I'm going to pause it right here, let you guys do it, and then I'll tell you the answer. Okay, so there is your answer to number 7. Moving on to number 8. Identify the vertex, axis of symmetry, and direction of the graph of each function. Compare the width of the graph to the width of the graph f of x equals x squared. So my vertex, just looking at my h and my k. My h is going to be -1. My k is going to be a positive 6. My vertex is -1, 6. It's in the form of hk. Remember, I've got to use the opposite sign here. It was a positive 1. I'm going to use a -1. Your axis of symmetry is based off the x value, guys. So x equals -1 would be my axis of symmetry. Now the width. If there's a 2 out front, all right, that's your A. It's going to get narrow this time. And that's all the questions that we have for number 8. Number 9, identify the vertex, axis symmetry, and direction of the graph of each function. Compare the width of the graph to the width of the graph of f of x equals x squared. Again, guys, do not forget to ask questions if you have them. Also, if you need to, you can pause the video at any point. So my vertex on this one should be 4, -6. My axis of symmetry should be x equals 4. And this one, the width is the same. Because look at your A. My A is 1. There's a number out here, 1. If your A is 1, your width is going to be the same as the parent function, as the graph of f of x equals x squared. And then lastly, what I want you guys to do is I want you to sketch the graph of the function. So this one, my vertex is going to be at 6, 1. So let's go to 6, 1 and graph it. Which means my axis of symmetry is at x equals 6. So I'm going to draw my imaginary line on 6.